Hey, what's going on, everyone? And we are back here. I'm on my Twitch stream right now, so I'm going to try and cut these up into little videos and everything. I know I keep saying that a lot. Um, but we're going to go over some NFL news, just some of the games that I watched and some of the news I paid attention to over the weekend. Obviously, there's so many games going on that I do not have time to sit here and watch every single one, and I'm not going to watch replays when I can just look at stats and then I can watch clips and everything. Um, but let's get to the first game here. We'll start with the overseas action, the London game. We had the Bills take on the Jacksonville Jaguars in their second home in London. Um, I did write a couple little things on this one. I mean, I want to see Josh Allen and the Bills succeed because I always like seeing new teams do good and maybe they'll make the Super Bowl and kind of redeem themselves from the '90s after losing four straight. But the Bills in this one, they did not look good. It was a bad day for Josh Allen in Buffalo. And I don't know if that had something to do with it being in London, because I did see reports that I think it was a Friday they got there, and that's something people don't really take into play is the jet lag, because honestly, it really did look like the Bills were jet lagged in that video, or not video, um, that game. They came out sluggish. They didn't really want to do anything until about the third, fourth quarter. I did write a stat down here. In the first quarter, they had one first down. One first down the entire first quarter. That is not going to cut it in the NFL, especially if you are the so-called Buffalo Bills. Not trying to be any disrespectful or anything when I say that. But you got to have more than one first down. And another thing, it may just be me saying this because I have James Cook on my fantasy team. The Bills, they refuse to run the ball. Let me pull up my phone here. I believe James Cook actually finished with negative yards. And I know he's not their only running back that got carries, but he is to me, he is their number one running back, and he ends up only getting, I think it was like negative 4 yards was his final tally. Let me look at it here. I'm getting it pulled up now. Um, they finished, or he did finish 5 attempts, negative 4 yards. And then the total game, here's the rushing stats for the Buffalo Bills. 14 carries for 29 yards. And out of those 14 carries, 4 of them were Josh Allen. And I'll give Josh Allen one actual run, but at least three of those were QB scrambles. And I'm not playing on this game if you guys are watching the video with it. I'm just talking over it, letting the CPU play. But like I said, 3 scrambles for Josh Allen. I'll give him one carry. Might even honestly been 4 scrambles. You take that away, that's 10 times they tried to run the ball. And I know the run game really wasn't working, but you got to establish the run game, because I know the announcers even started saying like, oh, the play action, Josh Allen's ranked number 1 in play action, blah, 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 blah. Well, you can run play action, but if you can't run the ball or you don't attempt to run the ball, as a defense, I'm assuming you're not going to run when you try to play action. So we'll be in coverage, bring out the nickel or dime or whatever you want, bring out an extra DB. They're going to get you covered. Josh Allen didn't look great. He kind of looked like the typical Josh Allen. He'll look good one week, and then the next week he's nothing. And he put up some big numbers in this one, but he threw a pick that, granted, that DB in Jacksonville, or for Jacksonville, sorry, not in Jacksonville. He made a great play, high pointed that ball, and it was a great interception. But the Bills in the second half, really, they were down only by I think it was a touchdown. Not even that, like one score. Let me look at the box score here, and I can tell you, because I don't want to be wrong when I say this. It was 11-7 at halftime, and the Bills came out in the second half and played like they were down 21. There's 30 minutes in this NFL half. And granted, you got like timeouts and you got stoppage of clock and everything, but 30 game minutes, and they were playing like they were down 21. In the NFL, especially with the Bills, they can score. I think they did it on Sunday. They scored in like 2 minutes. So it's possible, but you don't have to play like you're down 21. And to me, that's what the Bills started doing, and they kind of just they did this to themselves. It's good for me because I'm a Fins fan, and that means that they lose a game and we gain a game in the NFC, or not NFC, AFC East, which they beat us head-to-head, so they still got the head-to-head record right now, but it bumped us up in the standings. But the Buffalo Bills, they're just one of those teams that they're hot one week and then they're cold next week, and you got to get it figured out. It has to be consistency. I know it's early on in the season. There's still a lot of season left, and they may end up going on a tear and win out. I don't know. But you got to get these things under control. And like I said, it may have been because of jet lag and everything. They'll probably bounce back next week. I believe they have they got the Giants next week. So they'll be okay. But got to get couple things figured out. I had some more injuries go down for Buffalo. That could be a season killer too. I don't wish injury upon anyone. It sucks seeing anybody get injured, especially when they make it to the NFL and they put all that hard work in, and then it just kind of, I don't want to say goes down the toilet, but something like that happens and you get hurt and you got to sit out a year in rehab, and maybe you'll come back. Maybe not. It just kind of depends on the injury and your rehab process and what overall the player thinks about their health and if they want to continue, which most of them do. But it's a concerning thing for Buffalo Bills fans. And I know they were already talking about it and everything. Stephon Diggs, I don't know about him. He was throwing Microsoft tablets on the sideline, which I know he's into the game. I can't say that I'm not perfect. I've thrown my fair share of things, like in frustration. But you got to remember, you are on TV. People do see that, and people are going to react the way that they're going to react. You're going to have some people that are going to say, and this is what a lot of people are saying, that it's just heat of the moment. He's passionate about the game. He's wanting to win, which I'm all for. I get it. That's what it is. But you have to remember, people seeing that who aren't necessarily, what's the word I'm looking for, sports savvy, they're gonna see that and just see a crybaby. And he does this multiple games. And I'm not saying he's a crybaby. I'm not trying to harp on Stephon. I can't even say his name now. Stephon Diggs or Buffalo Bills fans. But I think that's something the coach McDermott needs to talk to him about controlling his, I don't want to say anger, but his frustrations on the sideline. Because with the way he's been acting the last couple games, things don't go his way. He starts throwing a fit on the sideline. Like I said, to the average NFL fan who doesn't really, I don't want to say doesn't understand, because they do understand, relate to that, it can be alarming. And who's to say that frustration doesn't spill on over to Josh Allen and maybe the higher-ups in the front office. And there's already been talks of him wanting out of Buffalo. I don't know if it was real or not, but it might have been a rumor. Beginning of the season, he was wanting out of Buffalo. And Buffalo, to me, their window's kind of closing. So if you're watching this, whoever this is, I'm sorry, I don't have my chat. I'm just recording a YouTube video. You listen to me talk about the NFL. But the Jacksonville Jaguars looked really good. Travis Etienne looked really good. So if you had him on fantasy, that's a big plus there. Him going forward. Sorry, I'm messing with my phone at the same time. But London is Jacksonville's home away from home. They perform good in London. London is getting behind them. I know I saw a lot of the crowd. They had like Dolphins jerseys, Giants, Jags, Falcons, Steelers, everything. They're just excited to have NFL in London and be able to watch it. But like I said, this is something that the Buffalo Bills need to take a look at with Stephon Diggs, and because they're not, I don't want to say their championship window is closing, but with the team they have for the last year or two, I know Josh Allen's not that old, but I don't want to say the window's closing, but things can go sour very, very quickly in Buffalo if they don't get those things quite figured out. Next up, we'll talk about the Miami Dolphins, because like I said, I am a Miami Dolphins fan. They played the Giants this weekend, and they beat them 31-16. Tua looked pretty good. He did make a couple, I don't want to say bonehead throws, but he did throw a pick six on the goal line there. I think it was like a 99 or 100-yard interception return for a touchdown. So really, you take that one away, you get like 38-7, like something like that, or 34-7, something, because the Dolphins are going to walk away with points there. But then his other throw, he was throwing to Jalen Waddle, I believe, on a crossing route, like underneath. And the more I watch the replay, I really don't know what Tua was doing there. He just kind of flicked the ball out there and was expecting Jalen Waddle to be there, and you can't do that in the NFL. I know Tua is still the MVP favorite, at least in my opinion, he is. And he's still a good young player, don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to say that we need to bench Tua or anything, but those kind of throws against good teams, they're going to come back and make you pay for them. When we play the Bills, for example, I use them because the week before that they just absolutely destroyed the Dolphins. Um, you make throws like that and make turnovers, they're going to capitalize on them. You get down to the playoffs. I'm hoping the Dolphins make the playoffs at least, but you get into the playoffs, you make those throws, teams are going to make you pay. And 3, 7, 8 points, however many points they get off of it, that can make you lose a game. You come down, boil everything, you lose by 3, but you threw a pick, and they returned it for 20 yards and got us 3 points off of it. That come back to bite you in the butt. But the Giants, I don't know what's going on with them. Daniel Jones got hurt. Their defense didn't look too bad. Their offense looked okay at some times. I mean, that Miami defense is a little shaky at times, but they looked decent. I know Saquon was out. Darren Waller had a hell of a game. Shout out to him. I didn't play him in fantasy this week, thank God. But Miami Dolphins moving forward, I believe they... Sorry, my back's hurting. I believe they have the Carolina Panthers next week. That's why I got this game going on here. I think they'll be all right. David Achane, he's going to be out for a couple of weeks with a knee injury. And they still got a ton of weapons down there in Miami. They got Waddle, Hill, Mostert, I don't consider Barrios a weapon, but he's there. And then they just signed Chase Claypool, which I'm not the biggest fan of that signing. But I do think Mike McDaniel can kind of rope him in and get him involved in the offense a little bit. And who knows, maybe he'll turn it around and he'll become a number 3 wide receiver for the Miami Dolphins. And come playoff time, that may be something we need. Who knows, especially with, like I said, a lot of season left. Someone may go down with an injury, I hope not. And he could step in and fill that role and make a big impact for the Miami Dolphins. I should have started off with this because this was the Thursday night game. The Chicago Bears. Bear down. I picked the Washington Commanders to win this game. I'll make another video on that later, my picks in the spread, and see how we did. But the Bears, I don't want to say the Bears are back, but they looked really good against the Washington Commanders. DJ Moore put up over 200 yards, 3 touchdowns, I believe. Yeah, 3 touchdowns, 8 receptions, 230 yards. Justin Fields, 15 for 29, 282 yards, and 4 touchdowns. And granted, like I said, they are playing the Washington Commanders, but that's a win for the Miami Bears. The Chicago Bears, they got their first win of the season. I'll make a later video about. I probably honestly would have picked the Bears if I would have heard what happened. But Chicago, they can build on this. Who's to say I don't want to say they're going to win out, because I personally don't think they're going to win out. But they got some good games going forward. Who they got next week? Let me pull it up here. They have the Vikings next week. Vikings are 1-4. Justin Jefferson is about to go on injured reserve, I believe. He's going to be out for at least 4 games. That's big for the Bears. That takes a big offensive weapon away from Kirk Cousins. He's still got T.J. Hawkinson and Addison over there, so he'll still find his targets. I'm a big Kirk Cousins guy. People want to talk crap on Kirk Cousins all the time, but he's a good quarterback. He just had to get into the right system, and I think Minnesota was the right place for him. But I'm interested to see what the Minnesota Vikings do with Kirk Cousins. There's been a lot of talks of the Vikings need to trade him and just kind of start, I don't want to say rebuild, but see if they can get some value for Kirk Cousins, because no offense to the Vikings, Kirk Cousins, they're already 1-4. It's going to be hard for them to come back and make the playoffs, especially since the Lions are 4-1. The Bears are starting to, I don't want to say catch steam. Packers, they took a bad loss last night. But you got to get something for Kirk Cousins, because I personally don't think this Minnesota Viking team is a Super Bowl winning team. To me, they're probably a playoff team if they turn everything around real quick. But like I said, 1-4, you already lost 4 games. You gotta start putting some W's up on the board. Can't take any more losses, and you gotta just go with what you got here. Another big one that I was surprised about. I've actually picked against them, but I said it could go either way, especially with a rivalry game. It is the Baltimore Ravens and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Pittsburgh Steelers won 17-10. Lamar, he didn't look like Lamar out there, at least from the clips that I was watching. Like I said, I didn't watch this game. I was paying attention to it. Steelers, though, Mike Tomlin he'll find a way to win. And I saw a stat today. Sorry, I got a piece of hair in my mouth. I saw a stat today that the Pittsburgh Steelers are at total yardage on offense. They're been outgained on offense by like 300 yards or something in the whole season, and they're still 3-2. And that's the Pittsburgh Steelers defense coming up big there. T.J. Watt, they're a middle of the road team, but they're a dangerous team to play. They're someone that you don't want to match up with, in my opinion. I know people kind of want to write them off, and Kenny Pickett as well, but I think they're kind of getting their, I don't want to say an issue, but I will call it an issue with Matt Canada and their offense. I think that's kind of starting to get figured out. I'm thinking Matt Canada's probably on his way out the door, because if you guys didn't see, there is a clip when Kenny Pickett threw that go-ahead touchdown to, oh, sorry, my controller disconnected, and I know it's going to mess up if I don't do that. That game-winning, I'm going to say game-winning, yeah, it was a game-winning touchdown to George, I think it's George Pickens, down the sideline, and they showed it the press box, and the kind of the offensive staff there, everybody was going crazy except Matt Canada. And as an offensive coordinator, you cannot let your team see that, and that clip's been going viral. Those players remember that kind of stuff. They see that we just about to knock off a division rival, a game that we were supposed to lose, and your offensive coordinator's up there, looks like he's throwing a baby fit. And you're about to win the game, and he's sitting there throwing a baby fit. Someone finally had to tap his arm and be like, hey man, you're on camera. And he's like, oh yeah, and then as a reaction, you can see that he's not too happy with the things that are going on there. So Pittsburgh, they're 3-2. I believe the Ravens have fallen to 2. Nope, they're 3-2 as well. Baltimore is always iffy. They always have some injuries that come up. I know they lost J.K. Dobbins to a season ender there. Justice Hill and Gus Edwards are looking to fill that role. That defense, defense allowed 17 points. That's a good game in my opinion. But the offense, you got to put up more than 10 points, especially if you have Lamar Jackson at quarterback there. He's got to do something more than putting up 10 points. Especially for him, he's a walking touchdown. He should be, at least, with his dual threat. He can run the ball, he can throw the ball, or at least he can kind of throw the ball, what we've seen so far. But he's kind of making all those naysayers become true, saying he can't throw the ball, he's a running back playing quarterback. And when games like this come up, he's kind of looking at it, because if we look at his stats on this game, Lamar Jackson, 22 for 38, 236 yards, and interception. That's not a great game, especially from someone who was a league MVP, and people are looking for him to come get back to that caliber. He's still, at any moment he could take off, he can do whatever and become a playmaker, but he's got to be able to figure it out, especially in Baltimore, because people are going to kind of start losing their patience eventually. After a while, they're going to get tired of the same old. The last game that I really want to talk about today, because this is the one I really watched, was the Sunday Night Football game. The more you watch my videos, and if you actually know me in real life, I do not like the Dallas Cowboys. And I don't want to say it's so much the Dallas Cowboys, it is just the fan base that I don't like. We them boys! Or that's the only thing they chant. They can be 1-13, they'll be like, we them boys! Like, they think it's their year every single year. And then they go out there, and especially with Dak, he was saying, oh, it's just firing me up, blah, 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 making me go play bad. And they end up losing 42-10 to the San Francisco 49ers. And I think I don't want to, no, I am going to say it. I don't think Dak is the answer. They messed up by giving him this much money. I'm not saying they need to trade him right away, maybe give him another week or two to figure it out. But when his defense doesn't get 7 sacks a game, 2 pick sixes, a couple forced fumbles, this is the Dak Prescott I think you're going to see moving forward. He's still a great player. He's in the NFL, so he's a great player, don't get me wrong. He's made it to the NFL, and he's earned that contract because he did put up big numbers to earn that contract. But when his defense doesn't play great, you kind of see the Dak Prescott you're going to get. I'm not quite sure if to me, he isn't worth that money. I should say it like that. They shouldn't have given him that money. They should have just let him walk, if not try to trade him. Maybe Trey Lance is the guy moving forward there that San Francisco needs to pay. George Kittle went off for 3 touchdowns, I believe. In his classic shirt he lifted up, his jersey he lifted up, he had the F Dallas shirt underneath. I thought that was pretty cool. But George Kittle looked good. George Kittle did not have a touchdown going into this game and ends up having 3 this game. That's how quickly stats can change. Christian McCaffrey still, once again, had another touchdown. I believe that's 15 games in a row now he's had a touchdown. And I said this in another video or stream I did. If you stop Christian McCaffrey, they still got other weapons to go to. You stop him, they got Kittle. You stop Kittle, well, guess what? They got Debo. They stop Debo, guess what? They got Ayuk. Their weapons are endless. And they got a quarterback under the helm right now who I think is... He's an MVP candidate to me. I know that's kind of a hot take with some people, but to me, he is. Brock Purdy, people can say he's a system quarterback, he's a system this, he's under Kyle Shanahan's offense, yada, 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 yada. Well, he just put up 4 touchdowns, and he's still undefeated in the regular season. Only game he's lost is that NFC Championship game last year, but he had he had some torn ligament, I believe, in his elbow or shoulder or something. And you could see he couldn't go out there and throw the ball. And the San Francisco 49ers didn't have another quarterback on hand, and that's something they need to look at going forward. I'm not saying Brock Purdy's going to get injured or anything, but situations like that come up, you got to have a solution. And they just threw Brock Purdy back in that NFC Championship game, and you could see what happened. I think if Brock Purdy was healthy in that game, I'm not saying they're still going to win. I think they would have won, especially with that defense. And Brock Purdy's only going to get better to me. People give him a lot of hate, but to me, he is their quarterback going forward in the future and for the foreseeable future. I think he's got a great career lined up in San Francisco and everything. But yeah, we'll go and end that video there. I know there's other games I didn't talk about. I'll probably make a couple more videos this week about them. But thanks for watching. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, The Weekend Vibes in B-Town. Check us out on TikTok, Instagram, X, Facebook. I post all the links to our videos in there. We'll do a couple more NFL news, and I'll make a video later on seeing how we did against the spread last week with our picks, and then I'll make a video tomorrow about the next week's picks. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys all later.